Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Suzanne Peterson, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Cheryl Elston. We warmly welcome the family of Flight Sergeant John Stanley Thomson, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome Group Captain Alan George, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We warmly welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they'd done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read one of those stories behind the Roll of Honour, which lists more than 103,000 men and women who gave their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant John Stanley Thomson. John Thomson was born on the 27th of October 1923 in Hamilton, Victoria, one of two children born to grazier Herbert Edgar Thomson and his wife Louisa. John grew up on his family's property at Maralla, from which they ran the local post office and the telephone exchange. He received his education at Maralla Stakes School and proved to be a keen sportsman, enjoying fishing, tennis and golf. When the Second World War broke out in 1939, John was working as a property hand on his father's farm. John Thomson had always been fascinated by planes and was keen to enlist. He received permission from his parents to do so and joined the Royal Australian Air Force on the 19th of November 1943. Thomson commenced a long period of training in several different locations across Australia. In August 1944, he qualified as an air gunner before being sent to New Guinea to undertake further training on the new Liberator heavy bomber. He saw out the rest of the year in New Guinea, returning to Australia in January 1945. Thomson was posted to number 24 Squadron of the Royal Australian Air Force, which had recently been equipped with Liberators. Based in Fenton in Northern Territory, the squadron was part of 82 Heavy Bomber Wing. Its primary role was to conduct bombing raids in the Netherlands East Indies. During one of Thomson's first reconnaissance missions, his aircraft was attacked by enemy fighters over Beamer. When the gun turret took a direct hit, the Perspex covering was blown clean away, leaving Thomson exposed to the elements. He remained at his gun and continued to fire until his turret was hit again. On this occasion, the gun jammed into position and he continued to use it to the best of his ability, protecting the rear of the aircraft until the enemy broke off the fight. Though Thomson and his crew had suffered a close call, they returned to base unharmed. On the 6th of April 1945, Thomson's crew took off with 8 other Liberators to take part in a formation strike against a Japanese cruiser in the Sombia Strait. After spotting their target, they began attacking at about 10 a.m, but quickly encountered heavy flak. Enemy fighters engaged them and managed to break through the formation. Thomson's aircraft was soon hit, causing a fire to break out below the flight deck. The flight engineer tackled the blaze with extinguishers as the flames spread, but to no avail. The 11-man crew jettisoned their bombs and began to bail out. As they did so, the craft went upwards at a steep angle before flipping and plunging vertically in towards the sea. Warrant Officer Keith Schilling managed to evacuate through the bomb bays, landing in the ocean below. He tried to make his way towards the others who had bailed out, but he was held back by the ferocity of the waves. Stranded in the ocean, Schilling was approached by an enemy cruiser that fired upon him with machine guns. Another cruiser soon followed, as did a number of Japanese Zeros who scoured the surface searching for survivors. Schilling was eventually rescued by a Catalina, which was then also shot down, forcing him to bail out for the second time. He was successfully rescued and went back to base, where he discovered that no other members of the Liberator A72-81 had returned. Extensive searches for the crew followed, and Thomson's parents desperately sought for further information of their son. When the war in the Pacific ended 5 months later, no trace of Thomson or his comrades had been found, and they were officially presumed to have lost their lives in the Strait on the 6th of April 1945. In 1947, Thomson was posthumously mentioned in dispatches for bravery during one of his first missions over Beamer. Today, he is commemorated on the Northern Territory Memorial in Australia, among almost 300 others who have no known grave. Flight Sergeant John Thomson was 21 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left. among almost 40,000 Australians who died in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant John Stanley Thomson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.